Yeah.
goodness.
No, you're doing a great job.
Well, listen, thank God for Malia. She's our wizard. She's our kahuna tech
And a
here.
and a
And
beautiful host too.
isn't
Thanks.
she? Yeah. It's wonderful. So, and we have these brilliant young ones that have just, knocked it out of the park. So anyway, yeah, I'm so happy we're on. It's just so cool.
I really should
It'll
have
be
met
nice.
myself better. I'm sorry.
No, actually, no. Oh, I love it. There's another. Okay. It's so cool. These guys are going to be in the other room. Yeah. I'm going to let you we're making pizza over there. And I'm just going, you know what? Don't talk to me. And then turn down the volume or something. I don't know. Okay.
I've got my air conditioner repair.
Okay, aloha kako.
Hey, aloha mai tita, pihea mai ne.
Oh, he lana ni, he pōna ni ke ia, he ahi. He ahi nani loa.
Ai, polole, mahalo nui me kia hoʻokipa ma ka hale i olani i kia manawa. No leila he ki'i oni i kia po. So we have a wonderful, wonderful program this evening, a film. So
and right now our friends are just starting to join us.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll be introducing all of our exciting programs coming up. Right now I can see that we are live on Facebook, and we have a lot of friends that are either joining us through our website, hawaiianhistorymonth.org, and we also have number of friends joining us on all of our partners pages.
Isn't that amazing? It's epic, actually, all these cross postings, of which it makes sense to somebody in the ether universe, but it's pretty amazing, really.
And what a better way to celebrate Hawaiian History Month to celebrate our queen's birthday. And we hope that you're inviting your friends and your ohana to come and sit around, maybe your laptop, maybe a device, maybe even your big screen television. And you get to, you know, just nanea pu with us. And if you haven't yet,
sorry, that's my bad.
We really invite you to join us and ask your ohana to come in and gather around.
That'd be great. I'm hoping people are making their pizza and just going to bring stuff to the just to hang out, as exactly what you're saying, Tita. So welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so exciting because this week has been a great start on Wednesday, celebrating Lili'u's birthday. We had such a blast. That was just really enjoyable.
Yeah, we had a great time being at the palace with Pala Akana and so many amazing musicians.
Wasn't that incredible?
Yeah,
with the gang and Kuipo and Kapua Kalua and Kavika Mersberg, Kumuhula, and Hanalei Marzan, all of our brothers from Halau with John Kila Lakes Halau. So we want to do a little quick shout out, hoping that Auntie's on the other side of this somewhere in the ethers, and maybe Koa. Are you guys watching? I hope so.
And we even had a reading from the diaries from
Oh my God, wasn't that fabulous? Oh my goodness. That was a highlight, seriously. So lots going on.
For all of you that are joining us on your phones, maybe on Facebook, I encourage you to click on that share button. That's what I just did. I clicked on share and I'm like inviting all my friends, come watch, come and join us, you know, and yeah, we're gonna be getting started in about a minute, and we hope that you will stay with us, and you know, we'll be introducing the film and in just a few minutes. So aloha to everyone. I see that there's friends joining us, and you can let us know in the Facebook chat where you're joining us from. We would love to say aloha to your ʻāina, your wahipana. I'm here in Hanapepe, Kauai, and we're at the palace. Where are you, Meleanna?
You know, I'm up in Makiki, so I'm at Hale Mauna Leo Kalavahine. That is our little hale up here, and we can almost see the palace from here. Nah, just kidding. But we're virtual tonight, so we can be there because this is a beautiful piece that Walter shared with me, Riddy, this background. So I'm enjoying being with the Lao tonight, with the Lahui, you know. So yay!
All right, so I see that it's Hola Eono, 6 o'clock. So welcome everyone to Hawaiian History Month. And we're on week 1, Pule Ekahi, of our very first Hawaiian History Month that we kicked off with a grand party at the palace in honor of our queen Lili'uokalani and her 182nd birthday. That was a great celebration together with everyone.
It really was. And you know what's so exciting tonight that everyone will have a chance to see after the film is they'll be able to talk to the filmmaker David Kalama. And I was on his crew 27 years ago as a kid. You have to know, I was a kid then, 37 to be exact. And we have Joan Landers. So she is part of the team Aloha Āina and a beloved friend as well. She had a crew up that day, she and Puhi Pao. So it's important and a real privilege to vala'a with people who are documenting and witnessing and working creatively to tell our stories through film. So
yeah, so I'm excited that right after the film, we'll be engaging in a discussion. And so again, we encourage you to go get your dinner and bring it around your device, your laptop, your television, and just nanea pu. And then, you know, if you have some questions, we'll take those too later.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I want to give a mahalo to the Nita Ohana here in Kauai. They came and delivered a beautiful lei pikake and lei pakalana, and they said it's a lei in honor of the Queen. They've been watching Hawaiian History Month and they came to share it, and so I share it with all of you. Yeah.
Maika'i, mahalo, yeah. What is it, lako? How would I, is that right? Yeah, okay. What a beautiful lei, what a beautiful makana, yeah? Ho'okupu. Okay, so when are we gonna get this party rolling, girl?
Tell us a little bit about the film, since you were there as a part of the crew, and what are, tell us a little bit, and then we'll bring it up.
Okay, thanks for asking. Actually, this time in 1993 changed my life, because I was in my 30s, not knowing exactly what was going on. You know, we had these 5 days, people had talked up this wonderful event, but people were afraid. A lot of people were afraid, like they didn't know. So I went down there and asked a lot of questions, and I was able to go, okay, well, maybe I'll participate. So I did get on a crew, and then was there for 5 days. And the reason it changed my life is because I got educated, you know, and it changed my life because I was able to participate, and it challenged me to ask the right questions, like, what am I doing? How best can I do more for the lahui, for my family? And I had a young family then, and they're all grown up, you know, that was 27 years ago. So these young boys are in their 40s, but, you know, in 1993, we were just getting Kaho'olawe back. We were having an apology bill signed by President Clinton. Our Hawaii delegation was very much a part of helping the United Church of Christ to support them in their apologies. So a lot of extraordinary things happened, and over 20,000 people marched and participated throughout those 5 days. And they marched from the pier and came up I think, what is that? Can't remember the name of the street. You know which street that is. That's right. Anyway, all those people coming into the palace, it was the kind of sight that made your heart just warm, and it just brought all the tears on, because all these people were just regular folks who just wanted to let everybody know that they mattered, that we count, you know, just regular folks. It was the most profound experience I've ever had, you know, with the lahui, and all of our leaders did a really great job. We had vigils, we had mele and oli, we had marches around from Mauna Ala down. I mean, it was 5 days of extraordinary history with street plays and all sorts of amazing offerings. So it'll be really great to share, because very few people have seen this film, which is why I invited David and Joan, because she was there. So you all can see this. It's a very beautiful documentary. So yay.
Yay, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I was there too, but if I was even younger than you were at that time, and just a new student at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. So yeah, I'm excited to watch this film again, this documentary. And I think mahalo again to our OEV TV gang, who's helping us with our technical everything. They're technical wizards. Everything.
Yeah, and anybody who wants any of this, like a copy of this film, we'll just find out how we can make that happen, because that's what I'd love to do, is make sure the material gets out to our schools and our libraries, and, you know, all those who really have that kind of interest, because getting educated, once you know, you never turn back, you know, you always want to holomua, yeah? So mahalo. Mahalo, Tita.
Yeah, so I think we're getting it queued up.
Okay.
And then we'll get started with our film.
What were you doing in 1993 as a college student? Were you just finishing your degree or just entering, or?
That was my first year at the university. Actually, no, my 4th year. So I was graduating with my first degree, which was a bachelor's in Olelo, Hawaii.
Okay, wow.
So yeah, learning Aloha Hawaiʻi changed my life.
Yeah.
And then participating in events like Onipa'a also changed my life. So I think we're ready to go.
Okay. Awesome. Mahalo for hanging in there, everybody.
Oh, child, look and observe thy heritage, thy lands, oh child, retain them, thou child of the highest rank, thou child of the changing time. Overthrown will be the foundation, left, lying face downward.
Now, therefore, I, John Waihee, Governor of the State of Hawaii, do hereby proclaim January 13 through January 17, 1993, to be a time of remembrance and rededication, and do hereby order that on Friday, January 15th through Sunday, January 17, 1993, the flag of the Kingdom of Hawaii, Republic, Territory, and State of Hawaii shall fly alone over all the State of Hawaiian buildings in the Capital District, Honolulu, Hawaii.
But on a January day in 1893, the nation of Hawaii was invaded, the government of a kingdom overthrown, an act of war committed by the troops of the United States Navy upon the sovereign people of Hawaii.
Lidia kamaka eha lili ua kalani, kia li'i I noho au puni, ka mo'i wahine o Hawaiʻi nei. Kia li'i wahine o ko kākou lahui Hawaiʻi, ua kau oia I ka noho a li'i, ma hope o ka make ana, o kona kaiku ana, o kawika la mea kla kaua. Ma luna o ka loa'a ana o kona kulana, a mahope mai ua nui wale nā noi. Ho'olale iho la oia e ho'okumu I kuma kanawai hou no ke au puni o Hawaiʻi nei. O ke ia ho'ololi hou ana ona, he mea I pai o ia, e na poe I imi a loa'a wale ka lākou. O na mana hou ma o ke kumu kanawai e lau, o ka makahiki hanele umi kumawalu, kanawalu kumahiku. O ke kulana o ke kalai ʻāina ua pō maoli no, ua nui nā poe I a pono me na ho'ololi ana o ke ali'i wahine. Ke kahi o lākou a ole no I a pono mai. Ka ho'olala ana a me ke au puni I kula I ia, ka I ho'ohele I ai I ke alo. Me na ho'okua ino, mai na lahui e, a me Amelika hui pu ia. O ke ia mua aku o ko kākou au puni e ho'oholo I ana I na mana o kupa'a, e na hanana o ke ia e lima la a e.
Years later, we Hawaiians gather to remember our history, to honor our ancestors, to preserve our legacy of 1,000 years, to heed the prophecy of centuries.
Anger and disappointment were not absent from those who gathered to hear the words of the Queen, but a bond of healing had transformed their rage into a common commitment to the sovereignty of a nation.
School children and toddlers, families and office workers, come ʻāina from all the Hawaiian Islands.
Native Hawaiian homesteaders,
from Hawaiʻi to Niʻihau,
and urban apartment dwellers, taro farmers and truck drivers, dignitaries and common folk, all distinctions erased, save for a common heritage.
The dreaded baronet constitution, under which the loyal subjects of this kingdom have been subjugated, under which their voting rights have been stripped from them. These dreaded restrictions are going to be lifted. Everyone's talking about it. The kanaka maoli throughout the islands are making their way to Iolani Palace. Today, January 14th, 1893, Her Majesty the Queen will promulgate a new constitution.
My dear people of Hawaiʻi, I have listened to the thousands of voices of my people that have come to me, and I am prepared to grant their requests. The present Constitution is full of defects, as the Chief Justice will testify, as the questions concerning it have often come before him for settlement. It is so faulty, I think a new one should be granted. I have prepared one in which the rights of all have been regarded.
Little did she know it would be one of her last official acts as a reigning sovereign, or that she was addressing the last legislature held in the Kingdom of Hawaii.
The ceremony of the judiciary Aliʻolani Hale was to commemorate the closing of the legislature by Queen Liliuokalani.
The decree of providence and the constitution of the kingdom having called me to occupy the throne of Hawaiʻi, it is my earnest prayer that divine assistance may be vouchsafed in the permanent exaltation and benefit of Hawaii.
O ke ia la no, ua mo'i wahine nei, I hea I ke aha, kau kanawai, o ke au puni o Hawaiʻi, e ho maha. A he mana o paa, I loko ona e ho'olaha I ke ia kumukanawai hou.
I think it's real interesting that things are proceeding at the same pace they did then, and that things seem to be as equally confused now as they were 100 years ago.
When I saw the black bunting on the palace, it hit me ever so much more. I cannot lie. Very emotional for me. What a long, long road.
Ua haawi o ia I neia palapala I ke aha kuhina. Nā kuhina lawe I ho'ole ke kakau I noa ana. Nui nā olelo kuka. Malia paha, he maka u ia, ke ho'olaha I neia kumu kanawai hou.
Exactly. What is it, gentlemen? The Queen wants a new constitution. That's nothing new. Holly News made breakfast for us. Today? What? Yes, she wants us to sign her new constitution today. Who does she think she is?
I neia la no, ua hui kona mau kuhina, lawe, me ke komike o ka palekana. He poe hana au kulu, a me nā lahu e.
Most of the native population is uneducated and has no concept of how to run a government. Taro farmers. Is that who you want to see take over here?
Don't sign the Constitution. And under no circumstances are you to resign your positions as ministers. And tell your two colleagues, Parker and Cornwell, to do the same. The reasoning is sound, but she'll demand an explanation.
Say something. Say there are flaws that need correcting. Say there is danger of an uprising from opposing forces.
Do you think there is?
Yes, I think so.
Stall her. They were here for everyone's time. This could be it.
An opportunity knocks.
It might be dangerous, but at this point, you could think about proclaiming a position of government.
It sounded really ambitious, slightly outrageous, really challenging. They asked me if I would write the script, and I said yes. And one of the reasons I decided to do it is because I feel like events like this, performance combined with history, is really a powerful educational tool.
Gentlemen, please come over here. It's like a work place. For God's sakes, man, everyone knows what's going on.
It's going to be today, isn't it? She's going to do it today.
It's about time.
We'll be the first thing we'll be first.
Calm down, everyone, please. There isn't a problem, is there? It's just too soon. She shouldn't just spring out with a new constitution and expect us to sign.
What do you mean, spring out? You know that she has been working on this with Navahi, Nolan, and White since...
Parker and Cornwell knew of her intentions before they were appointed. You knew as well.
Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things.
I see.
And yes, and they're just probably a little bit different from the way you do things in Germany and Greece.
Oh, please enlighten us on the right way.
A consensus of officials, those with government experience.
The government should be for the people.
Not for itself.
You don't understand. It may not be legal.
The way the Banned Constitution was legal?
Those were demanding, extenuating circumstances.
What could be more demanding and extenuating than the voices of thousands of citizens?
Things must be done through the proper channels. The Constitution of 1887.
Yeah, the Banned Constitution.
The Constitution of 1887 clearly states in Article 78.
A ole I ka'a ke kaona ho'oino. He nui ka moku ahua o ka mo'i mahine. Ho'ohola manao I hola o ia. E ho'opane'e I ke ia ho'olaha ana.
But she swore. We don't care.
We want a new constitution.
It is the voice of our people.
A constitution suited to the wishes of the dear people. I was ready and expected to proclaim a new constitution today as a suitable occasion for my people. But with regrets, I say I have met with obstacles that prevented it. Return to your homes peaceably and quietly, and continue to look toward me, and I will look toward you. Keep me ever in your love. I am obliged to postpone the granting of the Constitution to some future date. I must confer with my cabinet ministers, and when someday, after you return home, you may see it received graciously, you have my love. And with sorrow, I dismiss you.
Spiritual ho'opipu are offered in silent prayer by many of the Hawaiian organizations as they visit the chambers in the palace.
They bring gifts of love, gifts of respect, gifts of pride and devotion.
You know, I'm so happy that our people have come together to share their ho'okupu for the Queen. I recognize that not everybody may have the same path. At least there's a recognition that we're moving in unison. Our spirits are coming together. And I think that's really beautiful. I can feel it, you know, everywhere I go.
Of the ancient fire-burning kapu, a rite which Queen Liliuokalani inherited from her chiefly ancestor, Iwikauikaua.
The torches were lit at midday on the first day, to burn bright in day and night, for 100 hours until the final hour.
O ke ao makali I ka po. Aia e tama e a tona motu. Nao makua ia ka ina alo. A tona motu e tama e a tona ia. O e tani.
In a way, we are making real the events of 100 years ago. And the fact that you see people doing what they did back then makes things more real for people nowadays. If they'd had video cameras 100 years ago, people wouldn't think of this event in such abstract terms.
Well, we're here to do just about what you're doing, to gather this information so that it can be glued together to tell the story of what's happening here, what happened in the past, and what's going to be happening in the future.
And so we step back to Sunday, January 15th, 1893.
Mr. Stevens, let's say, hypothetically, of course, that during this time of governmental instability due to the Queen's revolutionary actions, that the lives and property of Americans were in danger.
My primary concern would be their protection.
And if this provisional government happened to declare itself at that moment,
should there be any suspicion of danger to American lives and property, of course, I would call on the troops. Mr. Stevens, I wish to inform you officially that many of us in the American community are concerned for our safety. We feel it necessary to form some kind of committee for our protection.
something like a committee of public safety to protect our civil liberties.
Our families and brothers. Do what you must, gentlemen, for your protection. We hereby form a public committee of safety to ensure protection from the Queen's designs. The members of this committee are myself, Lauren Thurston, W.R. Castle, A.S. Wilcox, W.C. Wilder, C. Balti, Henry Waterhouse, Andrew Brown, Mr. Glada, Henry Cooper, Mr. McChesney, Mr. Lansing, and Mr. McCandless.
Well, the scene that we just witnessed is very emotional. The way that it was portrayed really showed how it was the intention all along of that group of haole businessmen to do away with the Hawaiian monarchy. And it's very emotional for us to sit here and watch that.
I have been very moved by the play. Just walking on the grounds and being in the places that this all went down is quite moving.
100 years ago, my family fought for the Queen. John Kuakini Cummins went to jail for the Queen, and so for me, it's a personal commitment to be here to see that the wrongs of the past are made right, by the American government.
They're in awe about the whole thing. There are a lot of things going on that are contributing to this being such a significant event, but the play is having an impact on people seeing the real thing and what happened and beginning.
And that's important to know because that's part of our history, whether we like it or not, whether we accept it or not. The overthrow was illegal, and as President Cleveland said, it was an act of war against a peaceful nation.
He lehu kaukani a oi poe, nua kanaka I Hawaii me ke komike o Palekana, I ka hale koa o Honolulu nei. I ka hola e lima o ke ahi, he hanele ka nauno kumalua poe. Na ukali koa o Amerika mai ka USS Boston a pai I ke kapa kai. Ua lako me na mea kaua. He ka naono mea kaua o ke koa pakahi. Hahai, ana I ka pū kaua. Me umi kumaha kaukani lako kaua. A me ka pū kuniahi. Me umi kumahiku. Haneli a eha ko ka pahu. Ua nau e maila lākou I ka lepo momona o ka lahu Hawaiʻi. Ka mua hele lākou iuka o ke ala nui mo I mahina. A huli a kula I ke ala nui pāpū. A hele pololei I hola o ki ala nui mo I kani. Ma alo maila I ka mua o ka hale ali. Ua kula kou I ke kihi hema o ka hali I o lani no ke kahi manawa. Kukulu a e lākou ma hale o Ariona. Ma mua pono iho o hale ali'i I o lani. A kau nā maka I ka hale ali'i.
Hauoli noho I wau ke hui ma'anei no ke ia huakai I ka hale ali'i. Ua kahea ia ka lehulehu. Ua ho'ea mai lākou. Eia kākou nei makaukau, makaala, e ke aloha.
Eia no na oini kaunana, e o maila, e o maila. Eia no na punana e o maila,
I think it's good for young people to know, especially Hawaiian children, know what happened, but to have an understanding of the events, which is why I think this is great.
Basically, our school wanted to show us support in the commemoration for the 100th year of the overthrow of our monarchy.
We'd like to see more young people come out and support the cause and learn about what's going on, because we are the future, and we have to stand up for what we believe in, and we have to learn about about our history now.
You're still overwhelmed with the joy to see so many Hawaiians together.
I think this is one of the greatest experiences that's happened to the Hawaiian community and in the state in this decade, certainly perhaps in this century. Really, this is not history being reenacted. This is history in the making. You can feel the emotions of people coming out as they further understand and have the opportunity to share and experience what's going on.
Being 100% Hawaiian, you know, it's our time to come out and support the Ohana and all the people here.
Excellent. I mean, you can feel the mama inside. You can feel them.
What is going on? What are all these people doing here?
So there's a problem. And we're trying to say, remember us. This is who we are.
it's about time that not only us Hawaiians, but other non-Hawaiians realize the true picture of what happened.
Today, we have precedent. Today, we go on into the 21st century with purpose.
Oia ki kuma pilikia no ka poe Hawaii nui ko ka ko pilikia po pilikia no ka mea ohoi ka ko he ʻāina no aole la ka ko ka hapano ka ko a haliki ka ko e kamio ka ole lo pono I o ka ʻāina nei oia ka pilikia
a ole I like loa ka mana o kikahi me kikahi a ka he maumana o ko apa ko kako pakahi a pau e kili ana I ko kako muaku e ano na he lapu I ho kahi no ho I kako malama no ho I kako I kela mana o a o he mea e kono oni I kako
For more than 100 years, the Hawaiian people have suffered because the life of the land is not pono. For some, it is economic. For others, it is social. And for many, it is political. But for all Hawaiians, it is spiritual.
We are here to protect the illegal overthrow of my queen, Liliuokalani, in 1893.
A wrong has been committed. The wrong must be made right. The suffering will continue until the land is made pono.
Not only did Hawaiians come, but Maoris, Tahitians, Cook Islanders, Tongans, all wanted to come and lend support.
The Ava ceremony is the traditional ritual of drinking Ava in honor of our ancestors as a source of strength and guidance, to respect each other, to speak and share the wisdom of the day.
Ua hui ke komi ke palekana, mahale ali'i iolani, e ku kala ai, ke au puni hou ku I kama. Ho noho ia o Sanford B. Dole, ka peliki kena.
Accepted the position as president of the provisional government. Congratulations, Mr. Dole. First, we must notify the diplomatic representatives. Next, I would like to announce that we will declare the island under martial law.
Kakai palapala, kukala o J.S. Maka. Kai iho una ia mai, ke la au o ke ala nui mo I kani. E hai aku I ka mo I mahine, ua eha kona hana, e ho I ke ia oi, e haalele oi I kou noho ali'i.
Ue ko luna, ue ko lalo, ue lehu lehu,
Ho ole iho la ke ali'i mahine, a ho ona oi I kona po I kuina, lame lame. E hele aku I Amerika, e kuka ai. Pili ana ke kahi o nei mau kanaka kipi, e noho nei I ka hale au puni I ke ia la. Heia ka pane o John L. Stevens, kuhina o Amerika, ua māpopo e o ia I ke ia au puni hou ku I ka moa.
Velo, velo, te aui nei kalai. Velo, velo, te mo lehu mai nei. Na kolo, te mo lehu mai nei. Na kolo, ta mau tu lehua. E moi, ta mau tu lehua. E moi, aue, anu,
But I think the highlight of my whole life will never ever happen again in this lifetime. When we saw our people coming down the steps from Meleanna, and we greeted
thousands and thousands of people marching for justice for the Hawaiian people from all walks of life, many, many, many Hawaiians and many, many non-Hawaiians who support justice that our people rightfully deserve.
This is really the people's day.
After the march entered the palace grounds, various speeches were given by the many groups and organizations.
For the entire day, well into the twilight, each speaker was followed by another and another.
The United States does not recognize independence.
Independence for the way we are right now. Either which form you look at.
The native people of the Hawaiian Kingdom yielded to superior boss under protest.
I will apologize for the involvement of some of those who preceded us in the unprovoked invasion of the Hawaiian nation on this date, 1893.
And the God or gods to whom we thank.
We're serious. That it's not a carnival. This is not a pageant. That we're for real. We are native. E Hawaiiau, mau a mau. We are Hawaiian for now and forever.
It's a very moving thing to see so many people having brought pohaku from all different parts of the different islands, and there's a lot of presence and power in each of these rocks, and to see them all brought together, I think it's very symbolic to see so many peoples here being brought together. I think the educational aspect of it is, for me, the most moving part of this entire event.
We eat the stones, and that's what gives us our sustenance and our spiritual energy to rebuild our nation. So this ahu here represents that rebuilding of our nation right here, and it is a sacred site and shall remain so.
Hawaii includes all of our islands and all of our people, and for too long the island of Lanai and the island of Niihau have been left out, as well as the Ho'olawe. So I'd like to remind us to embrace all our islands and all of our people.
This whole thing is an awesome experience for us. We just arrived from Kauai the other day, and already we feel the flowing of the mana here. Of course, we brought ours with us too. The
the actors are so good that when they walk past you, you actually want to hit them. You know, you get so angry. But that only shows that they're doing such a good job.
We love our kingdom. We love our queen. And we love the land that gave us birth.
Why did you feel like you wanted to participate today?
I participate every day. This is a mourning time, but yet it's a happy time because we're close to getting something good.
After 25 years, and one of my goals was to move back in 1993, and I made it. And one of my other goals is to teach the next generation about our culture, our people, about the overthrow.
There's a lot of different kind of people here, from the grassroots to politicians, to rich people, poor people, but they all came for one purpose.
I'm just down here today to be with my brothers and my father, and just to feel Hawaiian. You come down here and you see all these Hawaiians here. I've never been in an area with so many Hawaiians.
I have never, in my 66 years, ever experienced anything so beautiful. I've been with many things. I've been at the Bishop Museum 15 years. We made the banners for the first 2 trips to the Hokulea. But, with so many wonderful things that we've done, it doesn't compare to this one.
A lot of non-Hawaiians here supporting the programs that are going on, and I think that it's inspirational, and I think this really can be used as a foundation for the future. When all of our events are completed here, we close this chapter and we move on to another level.
But they got to recognize first that we are sovereign. Then everything else will fall in place.
I think the process also has to be framed in solid values of how we're going to move through this process together, how we're going to treat each other in the process, mutual respect, care, humility on all of our parts, being willing to let go of some things so we can move on and we don't get stuck.
There is a lot of hurt, and people need to understand where we was and where we are today. And like you said, look, study the issues of sovereignty real well before and make a real good decision.
My dear people, hear these words of mine that I say to you in this hour of darkness. Hold your heads up high and be proud, for each and every one of you has much to be proud of in yourselves and in your people. Hold fast to that love and dignity and pride you have for your heritage and your country. Yes, your country, your nation, Onipa'a. Hold fast.
Namoiwahine represented our culture, our legacy, and that's what they stole. As a person, she was eha, and I understand that, and I can relate to her pain.
What we need is the land. We get the land, we can survive. We did it before, we can do it again.
And it's crucial. It's crucial to our survival. Not only the survival of Hawaiians, but the survival of Hawaii as a Hawaiian place.
Without Hawaiian, you don't have Hawaii.
So it's a very serious matter.
I well knew that resistance would only result in the many deaths of my own people. I could not call my troops to what would become their certain slaughter. No, this I could not do. After consulting my advisors and with the help of Mr. Paul Newman, I wrote a letter to Mr. Dole, yielding to the United States of America, not the provisional government, trusting that when that nation learned the true facts of this case, they would restore the kingdom of Hawaii.
I just marvel at the purpose in this woman's life, that she can take a time of confinement when someone might otherwise be experiencing personal despair, and out of it do something positive. I mean, she's the greatest role model we have.
I, Lili'uo Ka'alani, by the grace of God and under the Constitution of the Kingdom Queen, do hereby solemnly protest against any and all acts done against myself and the constitutional government of the Hawaiian Kingdom by certain persons claiming to have established a provisional government of and for this kingdom, that I yield to the superior forces of the United States of America, whose Minister Plenipotentiary, His Excellency John L. Stevens, has caused United States troops to be landed at Honolulu and declared that he would support the said provisional government. Now, to avoid any collision of armed forces and perhaps loss of life, I do under this protest and impelled by said force yield my authority until such time as the government of the United States shall, upon the facts being presented to it, undo the action of its representatives and reinstate me in the authority which I claim as the constitutional sovereign of the Hawaiian Islands.
Ko kākou ʻāina a ole loa e mālama i ana, mālalo o nā poe Hawaiʻi i ke ia mua aku. A he au hou ka i hiki maila, a he manawa loli ke ia, a me ke kākali ana.
Because of these wrongdoings, we must be deeply committed to a better future, and we must have within our hearts and minds a burning desire to take up the task and move forward and regain what is rightfully ours.
Oh boy, all the way. Look at us, right, buddy? All the way, buddy.
By following the plan laid down 100 years ago by our mo'i wahine, Queen Lili'u o Kalani, Onipa'a, move forward with steadfastness. To fear and all to gain.
Okay. Wow. What an amazing film, bringing us back.
Amazing.
I could feel being right back at the palace and with all the thousands and thousands of people. So, I was writing down a lot of the names that we saw in the credits, that really stood out to me, like Uncle Kekuni Blaisdell, and hearing his leo, his voice. One of my first Olelo Hawaii kumu was Haunani Bernardino.
Yeah.
And hearing her Olelo Hawaii, she made a big difference in my life. Of course, the Trask sisters, and seeing them as they were leading up there. Just so many.
And Solini Hale, wasn't he amazing? That was one of the extraordinary moments, as well as with Taupuri Tangaro giving his ue. I mean, I just think, wow, it's just such a moving time, and we were all there. So we have these amazing filmmakers to share their mana'o. So we're honored to have you both with us, and we do have questions, so we're hoping also that people send in their questions. But I do have a few thoughts that I'd like to ask the two of you, whoever wants to. And David, yes, Malia?
Maybe let's do a quick introductions.
Yeah, what a good idea.
And then I'm going to ask our OEV TV friends to put us on gallery view on Facebook. So I'm monitoring it all on Facebook here. And we've been having a lot of friends that have been just so thankful for being able to see this film. Many have said, I've never seen this before. Thank you for making it available. Will it be recorded? And yes, all of this is will be on our HawaiianHistoryMonth.org website. And maybe later I'll bring us back to some of the comments and questions. But
that would be wonderful.
Let's have, we'll ask David Kalama to give us a brief introduction. Let people know who you are.
Who you are, David.
I'm an old Hawaiian Hapahole man, half Hawaiian, half Haole. This project had a lot of people involved. It's important to note that it was a contracted project. I didn't do it on my own. It wasn't my own inspiration. I was asked to do something for some people, not like Joan and Puipau, their great film Act of War, which went national. Very good story that explained it all. My film didn't explain a lot. It pretty much just showed things, which is what I was asked to do. But it was two contracts. The first contract was just to film everything. And at that time, there was no thought to make it into a documentary. And I kept plugging the people involved that we've got to make something out of this. So that's why it took, wasn't until July after the event that there was actual discussion beginning to make it into a documentary. It wasn't until November that there was a commitment to make a November. So sometimes that's the way it is with these things. Because in the mind of the people, which was the Centennial Committee, which was a committee within the legislature, that's who actually ran this event. It's kind of a weird, but the legislature with some partners actually created the event to which everybody else just showed up. And people say that there might have been 20 or 25,000. I dispute that completely. There's got to be at least 36,000 people on the main day. Could have been even more than that. And if you can count all the people who came on the other days, because there was 1 week of filming, I'm pretty sure it was well over 40,000 people throughout the week. And did you see Joan? She was in there a couple of times. Once right after the newspapers, She was holding her huge 3 CCD camera that was state of the art back in them days. They weigh like about 30 pounds. All you young people have these small little things that weigh 2 or 3 pounds, plus the lens that's another 2 or 3, so 5 pounds. So Joan, down below there, was carrying stuff like that, filming her and Puipa'a filming stuff. That was state of the art back in those days, that 3 CCD. I forget what we were using. I think we were using Ikigami cameras or something like that. And then, of course, Meleanna, I asked her, I says, okay, so I needed to have somebody, we needed to talk to the people who were there.
Yeah.
So I asked her if she would go do that. And she said, what should I get? As many different types of people as you can find, you know. We want to see the people as much as possible. And because of, you know, timing, there's a ton of stuff that could have gone in there, but there's always these criteria, and only so much gets included. And as a contract job, the client required certain things to get in there. So that's why you'll know why those people were in there, because it was required that they were there. So anyway, it was a great event. It was a great week. I wanted to see if we could at least sort of capture the moment and the huge emotional content that was happening there. And I think we did a pretty good job for the technology available 27 years ago. Still, yeah. I still like it, even after all of those years. It's still pretty good.
I think it was amazing. You know, one of the comments, I'm just going to read a quick one from Pua Lilia Dudwa, said, I was born in 1997, but the mana still runs through our veins. Ku'e forever. That's her comment on Facebook right now. So I think that emotion definitely comes through the film, you know, so great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Just extraordinary, really. That was well articulated, Kalama. Good for you.
I want to throw one more thing out there to, not to my crew, of course. Thank you to all my crew and everybody involved. But I want to give Victoria Keith a plug at the march where it began over there at Aloha Tower. She had the foresight to go up on top of the AmFag building and shoot down. She was the only one who had that shot, and I had to beg her to please let me include that in my piece. And she finally said, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody how many hours of footage you guys think you shot? Because that's really an important thing, because people think, oh, you know, this is an hour show. You must have had.
Okay, so there was, so there were probably around 7 cameras total. There was one camera that filmed only the ceremony at the first day, and then they were done. Then there were like 2 or 3 cameras that filmed every day. We had 5 cameras on the 2 main days, Saturday and Sunday. And then there was one camera that was at Skygate filming only the performances that were there for, I think it was 3 or 4 days. Put any of that into the film because it's just, I said, can we make another film for Skygate? And they said, no. So anyway, I don't know. It's hours per day, 8 hours. Well, some days we started at 5 a.m. The uwe was at, I think it was at 6 a.m. So, and we went till sunset. So 6 and 6 is 12 times 5. So whatever that is,
60.
A couple hundred hours.
Yeah.
Times how many cameras? Yes. So I don't know, several hundred hours. And I did have to look at all of it. Every little inch, right, Joan? Joan knows
it was a monumental feat of production. I mean, my jaws are dropping. I'm just imagining all that post-production work. Congratulations, David. It was just a masterful weaving together of the past, present, and future, which I'm so happy, Puipa'a, you used that clip of him saying this day is an example of showed what happened in the past and what will happen in the future, which I thought was kind of neat, you know. But it makes me realize we were, of course, producing Act of War at the time. So when I saw your film, and then I saw the play, Victoria Nubel's play, directed by the excellent Dallas Mossman, I realized there were all of us, we were all doing the same research. We must have all been doing the same research for like the previous 2 years, you know, leading up to that point. And it's hard to do the research. You have to go to the archives, and you have to go to this archive and that archive. Now, of course, it's all online, you know, and all the visuals are online, you know. So we really had to do a lot of legwork back then, including going to Washington, you know, and the National Archives and stuff like that. So, but I really admire the way you told that history through a very unique point of view, you know, from, I'm sure some of it came from the Queen herself, and some of it was Vicky Nubel's writing. Very, very wonderfully done, you know, with the use of archival material, and then just constantly intercutting it with the faces of today. If there were 40,000 people there, I believe you must have caught every single one of them on camera. Congratulations.
The ones that were in the bathroom when we were rolling, yeah. Because we didn't show that. There was like, I don't know how many, 20 or something porta potties.
You didn't show that, Kalama. What can I say? Oh my goodness. Hey, listen, I have a couple questions, if that's okay, just to start asking. You know, as filmmakers, could you remember back that far? What inspired you guys the most? Maybe David, you can start. You know, in terms of just participating as a filmmaker.
What inspired me is that these people all showed up. Yeah. There was rumors like, you know, you'll be lucky if 4,000 or 5,000 people show up, and I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the country shows up. You know, we're going to close down the country. I wouldn't be surprised if there's 100,000. They didn't all show up, but there's quite a lot of people there. I still say there's a minimum of 34,000, 35,000 people there on that day, minimum. And to be there, the mana is just so electric. I mean, you can just stand there and zaps into, you know, and it passes on to the next guy. It's unescapable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some people were kind of there for curiosity, but almost everybody was there to bathe in that mana of everybody being there, and of their, you know, reminiscing the shadows of their ancestors. That's what it was all about. And you know, in the end, they had a good time, and I didn't see a single person drinking alcohol that day. That was so fantastic.
Just Ava.
Sober. Huh? You saw somebody? Oh, shucks.
Just Ava.
Oh, Ava. Right.
Thank goodness for Ava, right?
Yeah.
Joan, what about you in terms of memorable moments or something that inspired you?
Well, like I say, we were in the middle of producing Act of War, so we'd done all this research. We had done a lot of dramatic recreations similar to what was staged that day, not as completely as they did it, but we hired actors to portray the troops, the United States troops that came into Honolulu on January 16th, and we were down at the palace shooting. And Puʻipao was a graduate of Kamehameha schools when it was still a quasi-military academy. So he knew all the military maneuvers with rifles and presenting arms and stuff like that. So he was training all these actors, all of whom were Hawaiian, by the way, even though they were portraying haole military guys. Puʻipao insisted that they all be Hawaiian actors. Anyway, they're all practicing these maneuvers down at the palace. We had rented rifles from a supplier in Los Angeles who rented things like that to Hollywood, and we had rented the costumes and everything else. And afterwards, later that day, the security guard at the palace, we were staging all this at the palace on a Sunday, no permits. We never asked nobody for permission. The security guard was changing around 5 o'clock, and the new security guard came in and said to Puʻipao, "What you folks doing here?" You know, and Puʻipao told him, and he said, we're almost pal." He said, "Why?" And the security guard said, "Well, we're getting calls coming into the police station that there's a bunch of Hawaiians down at the palace with guns." Anyway, our only contribution to that dramatic play that went on the street theater was we had only hired like 9 actors to play the troops, right? So we had to make it look like a bunch of feet in a row and stuff. Anyway, we're using the sound effects. We rented some sound effects of troops marching. So Dallas Mossman asked us if we had any sound effects for that, and we said, yeah. And so during the street theater, when the troops were landing, they played that marching sound over the PA. And everybody in the crowd was looking out toward King Street because they knew that's where the troops were supposed to be marching. But it was just a sound, and everybody thought it was real, that the troops were invading Honolulu. It was just, it was really, for me, electrifying moment. Anyway, so we were mostly there shooting cutaway shots for active war. We had nothing like the job that David had of putting all that stuff together. Just incredible.
Well, in terms of contract, what's really interesting to me is like nobody was thinking about putting together a film. So that must have been kind of epic to try to do that, you know, after the fact in terms of making a film, because when you go in, pre-production really makes a big difference, you know, to have all that covered. So what were you intending those 5 days, just to catch everything you were supposed to catch, Kalama? Or what was your take on that?
Well, yeah, as a filmmaker, you don't do things just because people, that's what the contract says, you know. You do that as a minimum. But you're always thinking ahead, like, okay, so I can use this for this or that, or it can be used for whatever, you know. And you do manipulate your approach with a concept in mind. Otherwise, it could be like real dry, you know. Documenting can be very dry, you know, this is what happened. But so I told the guys to go out there and says, okay, you know, there's like this fantastic $1 million shot. Yeah. I want 10 of them from you each day. Do I get paid more? No, you still get paid the same. But we're going to stink about you if you show up with only 6 or 7. Anyway, they did a fantastic job. Yeah, I was very pleased with everybody. So yes, even though the contract said you're just documenting, I still tried to film it so that it could be turned into something by somebody, even if it wasn't by me. Somebody could make something out of it.
Those are definitely those amazing shots came through, you know. And again, on my notes here, I have some of those sayings that like Anakala Kekuni says, you know, this ahu represents the rebuilding of our nation. You know, and I just love that. I mean, we heard even like Kumulena ala Kalamahaini, you know, talking about that emotion again, and hearing so many of the oli of our halau. I was really touched to see that and to hear that. And then when Soli said, we love our kingdom, we love our queen, you know, it really resonated. I mean, as I heard these clips, so they did their job and they got those $1 million shots, I think.
That was actually one of my all-time favorites when Soli was talking. And, you know, you have to know that we didn't get permissions to do, I don't know if we should be telling everybody this, but oh well, in 93, there were no permissions to put up an ahu. You remember that, Kavika? It was like,
yes,
we were waiting and waiting. And by the way, all those pohaku came from all the different islands. So we brought down from Manoa and we were just waiting around. And then finally, boom, overnight, the thing came
happened in the middle of the night, like the many huna.
What wasn't it perfect? We love that part because there's like, you know, we're going to ask permission or ask for forgiveness. I'm going to go with
that. It was a big controversy. The palace people were not happy and they had to take it apart and take it down, right? And then it was put back. After negotiation, they rebuilt it.
I didn't know that part.
Taken down for about 3 or 4 days, and the negotiation, they just put it all back again.
Okay, well, that's good to know. See, these things, we just have to be persistent and courageous and fearless.
And it's still there now, though. It's still there.
And you know, there's a history to that because Lynette Cruz called me up one time a couple of years ago, and folks had come and desecrated it and took it apart. But within 24 hours, boom, it was all together again. So you guys got to know, man, there's plenty stories. And with all that extra footage, it's all at ulu, isn't it, Kavika? It's there to be used or what? What's your take on all of that?
Hawaiian affairs, technically, and it is all at ulu, as I understand. Yes.
Well, you know, that's great. A mention of ulu ulu, because I see a feather, another fellow filmmaker, Heather Juni, that's online, and she said on Facebook, "Bravo to all of you folks! Great job documenting history." So I see that, and so aloha to Heather, and for all the great work that she's doing as a filmmaker too.
Bless you, bless you. Honestly, we have so many people, and we all have pilina, relationships with each other, and you think about that. That's the thing that makes the difference, yeah. Yeah, Kavika, you did an amazing job on this piece. We had lots of fun, didn't we?
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Meleanna was asking me, do you remember how many crews there were? I think there were like 21 crews. They're professional crews there, at least for the 3 main days. Somebody from Japan, somebody was a ringer for the networks, and there was somebody from Canada, and somebody who was filming for Europe, and I forget who they were, sorry. And a lot of high school guys brought their own camera kits, Roosevelt, YNI, bunches of them.
And somebody was shooting 35 millimeter film, I know.
I think that was New Zealand, as I recall.
I
think so.
I thought it was a guy from LA, but I forget his name. So it could have been both, who knows?
Yeah,
but that guy was shooting film. Was it 16? Could you tell? Was it 16 or?
That was 35 millimeter.
Okay. Then that was the LA guy, because the 16 guy was New Zealand. So there we go. All right, cool.
So Meleanna, you're responsible for those wonderful interviews then.
I did about 150 over 5 days. I'm exaggerating. It was probably more like 90, but I had a blast. Kavika wanted me to talk to everybody. So we got some great interviews. And,
you did.
Yeah. And you know, there's so many more that weren't used as Kavika was saying. So I got to tell you, there's very rich footage to be troved. And that's the advantage, yeah, David, of having 5 cameras up for one crew is was just extraordinary. You know, we got everything covered. It was amazing. And like you say, you know, people weren't expecting. By the way, I was afraid to go down there because we had heard lots of rumbles. Nobody knew. It was a little dicey. You know, people thought plenty violence, but no, only our beloved community. And granted, there was a lot of stuff going on that we were made aware of, but the people wanted to be there. Our beloved Po'e Kanaka Maoli and their families and others who are supportive of the cause. Yeah. So, yeah.
And the police were there in plain clothes, aloha shirts. They were throughout the crowd. They were on top. They were on top of the buildings, you know, in case there were snipers and stuff. And some of them, a contingent from the police force came up to talk with Puʻipaʻa about a month beforehand, and just to learn a little bit of the history and everything. So I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
All in the aloha shirts, they stood out like everybody know who you.
And by the way, they still show up in aloha shirts today. You know what I mean?
They were cute.
Yeah. Full on.
But just to memorialize all those people who have passed away, you know, I mean, just seeing those faces again and hearing that mana'o was it's a treasure, just a treasure.
Truly. Wale Makua, Dr. Kekuni Kauka, and Parley Kanakaole, and all of those beloved teachers and friends. What?
Uncle Charlie Maxwell.
Absolutely. And
Lena Ala.
Yeah, and beloved Haunani Bernardino, who was very special. She kept me in school, by the way, Malia. I was gonna quit, but she said, you cannot quit. So these people are beloved, everybody, really. Yeah.
So can I brag about Meleanna a little bit more? Just a little bit?
No. No.
Cannot? Okay, sorry. Go ahead. So, I decided, and I asked Meleanna for opinion, and I said, you know, I think to help the clarity, we have to have the voice, the narrative voice needs to be, you know, a minimum amount of people, and I think we should have like 3 age groups: youth, adult and senior. And I said, I think you should all be female. And that was pretty, I thought, bold on my part. I don't know, it seemed to me like, why would it not be? But at the time, everybody expected to be male. But I said, no, I think they should be all female. Anyway, Malia Craver is a great poet, and I know her voice. I said, oh, she's definitely the kupuna with her Hawaiian. It's just excellent. And she was a little subconscious because she just recently had her teeth done. So she was worried about the clarity of her voice. And I says, no, I reassured her. It's going to sound fantastic, Auntie. Don't you worry. And then we picked, both Meleanna and I had picked her cousin Mehana to be the adult, Mehana Souza. And then the child, I said, I have no clue. And so Meleanna found the child voice for us.
And I don't even remember at this point. That was too many years ago.
From Kamehameha Schools. She was in the 4th grade or 5th grade or something like that. I forget.
Bravo.
Just lots of fun. There's so many details and so many stories. But you know what struck me with all of this, which is so important, is the witness. And again, I want to give a shout out to all of the societies and royal orders, because they, throughout our history, have always been there. And because this is all virtual, we couldn't have them on the 2nd, which I really missed, because they've been there everywhere, and you saw Bill is it Bill Sousa? 27 years ago. Hey, Bill, you look pretty good. but and Auntie Ululani Woodside. I mean, what an incredible beauty. And even Waihe'i, did you guys see him in a couple of shots? That was great. And our beloved Kumu, Keolalei. Oh my goodness, he was just something. But as we're just kind of like thinking about all of this, you have any other stories you guys want to share about the day? And there are a lot of promises that were made that day, that time, with the United Church of Christ apology, with the apology bill. What's your take on that? If you were to talk to the young ones now, the two of you, what would you want the younger ones to know about these promises that were made, or things that people talked about happening? I'm interested. What would you share with them now?
I think this maybe wasn't a promise, but it kind of was a turning point that set off a huge effort in education, research and education. When we were researching the history books for active war, I was reading through them all going, oh my God, none of these are from a Hawaiian point of view. They're all saying that the overthrow was justified, this and this and this and this. Everybody who wrote the histories, that's what it was, 99%. We found one wahine from Howard University. She's African-American. She explained the true history. But now the newspapers have been digitized. The Hawaiian language has spread. So now all of a sudden, we were criticized after active war for not showing the resistance, the coup that happened around that time. But now we know, because all this history has come out, the newspaper articles have come out, the songs, the stories, everything like that. So I think what that day marked was kind of a reawakening of getting the word out, teaching the children. That's what Puipao's whole thing was. He said, you can't change the mind of the adults. You got to go to the children, So I think that's been happening. And I think it's been making the change in an underground, not an underground way, but I mean, people don't notice that it's happening, but there's so much more educated people nowadays, educated as to the history.
Yeah.
So I think it'll reach a tipping point at some point.
Well, one thing that I really loved was hearing so much Olelo Hawaii throughout the film. And, one of our Haumana Kini Ka'ava is actually saying aloha to you, Joan. And, we saw her mom, Makalapua, in the film and speaking Olelo Hawaii. And she's had an impact on so many young ones too. And you know, Kini's saying here, aloha e anake Joan, aloha nui mako ya olua o anakala puhipau. I use her videos as resources in my school curriculum. Nui kavaivai.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Mahalo for that. I did not catch that. Wow.
So I,
you know, that's it.
That's great. That just Kalama, I like that weaving of our language and being able to hear it, because there was so much being done with our Hawaiian language, the revitalization, the renormalization of it. And that was a turning point for me too, in my beginning at the university. And I think, I love how that was captured in the film. So mahalo to David and to everyone for allowing us to hear the Olelo Hawaii through that film.
Took a lot of flack for that. Way too much Hawaiian, they said, no, that's the kupuna's voice is of that time, and that's what they spoke. So to be accurate, it should be in Hawaiian. English is a relatively new thing, so that was my justification. That's how I got away with it.
You got away with a lot of good stuff, Kavika, let me tell you. So, you know.
So,
and
David, where has this film shown, and has it been broadcast?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been broadcast on K5 and PBS Hawaii in the early years, but then OHUB just put it away. So Meleanna has, I mean, I've showed it, you know, film
here and
festivals,
there,
things like that. Yeah, here and there, you know, small audiences, but Meleanna's moved it around here and there. I tried to get it on national TV back when a 4:3 type of video would have mattered, but now that it's 16 by 9 HD, it's got a very small market. However, I think Meleanna will convince OHA to put it on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Perfect place to go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know the channel, but why not? Absolutely.
Well, I do have to clarify that in their defense, there was some concern that the rights for the use of the street play had not been clearly taken care of. So beyond the two local broadcasts, it's only been shown to private audiences. Its premiere was on the Palace in the Barracks.
Yeah.
Which were first seen to the committee and their invited guests. Meleanna was there.
But this is the kind of work that needs to be out in the community. So I'm sorry, David. I just forced the issue tonight because I said, you know, you need to just tell everybody how exciting that time was, you and Joan, because you know these opportunities to hear filmmakers speak are rare. And it's such a privilege to have the two of you. Seriously, those days were remarkable. And so many people, we talked to one of our Oiwi crew, and Malia, and she was born in 1993. So I went, oh my God, you know, that sort of puts it all in perspective there, you know. Oh my goodness. So David, what are your next projects? Joan, you've got, I know you both have work ongoing. So is that something you guys want to share at all?
Right now, I'm helping Moana Gardens Foundation produce a virtual Prince Laut Hula Festival.
Okay.
So they committed. They still want to have a festival. So we've been working on putting that together. Right now, most of it will be filmed at the Queen Emma Summer Palace. But because of COVID, we're like in limbo. We're in hold. We're not allowed to proceed. We have to wait. So who knows?
Well, we shouldn't tell you what happened on the last week, yeah, Malia. We'll do that offline because the clampdown went the day after we were supposed to shoot this week. But long story short, film is an exciting media to get into, isn't it, everybody?
Well, what's nice is about COVID, I hate to precede it like that, but for people like me on the neighbor islands, we get to see a whole lot more now because everything's online. We can't go to the Prince Laut Hula Festival or this or that, but now we can watch it online. So it's been good for us.
Yeah. Malia, do you have any other questions you want to ask?
I guess maybe some advice to some inspiring filmmakers out there. I mean, yes, the technology has changed so much, but maybe what kind of advice would you guys give to some of these young ones that, you know, so many start even in elementary school and middle school and high school and they're looking at filmmaking, you know, as a possible career that they want to go into. What would you say to these young ones today?
Okay, I'll go first. It's not easy. It's just as much work as anything else. You should do whatever you love, whatever you have passion for, whatever that is. Maybe you think it's filmmaking now, but then after doing it for a year or two, you realize, maybe not. So just switch, you know. You'll find yourself, whatever it is that inspires you, that's what you should be doing, whatever that is. It sure is a lot easier technically than our days. And the quality is just phenomenal. And for the price, I mean, fractions of like Joan's camera that she was carrying on her back, I believe that's like a $35,000 camera back in those days. And now you can get quality way better than that for $4,000.
Well, in a cell phone.
It's just amazing. Anyway, just plus, I would just say do whatever inspires you. That's what you should do, whatever that is.
And plus, you know, we spent 6 years making a documentary about Mauna Kea and all the issues surrounding that. It went on PBS Hawaii twice. It went on PBS stations around the United States maybe once. But a few years later, when people were, you know, live streaming stuff from the mountain, it went around the world instantaneously, if not live, you know. And I mean, it's so much easier to get the word out nowadays. You can have the same effect and impact in social change now without having to become a professional filmmaker, you know. So I mean, the whole paradigm is changing as far as getting the message out. And actually, people like shorter things nowadays online anyway, so you don't have to make 1 hour documentaries anymore.
No, that's a really good point.
That's exactly, I think, why the Hawaii Panoi Coalition was really excited about pivoting during this time of what was normally a one-day event in the beginning of September at the Palace. And then now looking at this as with a larger vision of Hawaiian History Month, and really trying to feature and have conversations like this, you know, to bring it to our community. When our team just met to debrief about Wednesday's event, they were so amazed when we were sharing some of the analytics and the insights that we can see just from a Facebook insights, you know, that we were reaching out to Aotearoa, to Australia, to Japan, to French Polynesia, to just so many places around the world outside of Hawaii, and the impact that people are watching, you know. And after our, right after we got off of Wednesday's celebration for the Queen, we had over 21,000 views. Wow. And, you know, and I think similar to tonight, you know, like I'm seeing some comments here. So where can we access this documentary after this? Can we go and find it on YouTube? So, you know, I think like we already heard it here, you know, we're going to work on getting that up. And we want to make it accessible to Ohana and to a lot of the kumu, the teachers out there that can have that kind of same impact and discussion with our students.
It's a beautiful piece for not only the lahui, but for kumu, because it allows the young ones to see what the impact has been on a lot of the young ones who were there, because they are now kumu, they have families, and their families are having families, and they know the history. And that is indeed the message of the Hawaii Panoi Coalition. It is to learn the true history of Hawaii. And this is the kind of work that we're all really very proud of. And it's just been a wonderful opportunity, you know, just to have everybody. And, you know, I'm so excited to share and have you two rascals talking to the crowds. Do you have any questions that folks have sent in for these guys at Malia?
Well, I'm gonna just read a quick comment again from our friend Heather Juni, who's jumping in to remind all of our viewers that this fabulous work, this mo'olelo, this part of Hawaiian history, is available for educational purposes at uluulu.hawaii.edu. So please go and visit, and you can go to their website and have access there. So awesome.
That is awesome. And bless you, Heather, for getting that thing organized, because we all had our films under our beds. Yeah, you guys. It was terrible.
Still do.
Except for David. Where did you have your stuff, man? My stuff was under the bed. Joan, you've done the best job. You've got what, 80,000 hours of
video footage in an climate controlled garage that's been made into a room. But it's all going to Uluulu eventually. And I want to give my mahalo to Heather too for making Uluulu a reality in a very short, record-breaking period of time.
Yeah.
Well, so here's a question. I was scrolling because there's a lot of comments here. So maybe a question that I'm seeing here is, so what steps can we take as a lahui to expose these truths across the ʻāina? And we kind of answered some of this, but maybe any additional thoughts about using this as an educational tool, and then of course so many of the other videos that have been created.
I don't know about. I'm just going to say that this film is a little about, to me, it's a little bit about how do you describe something that people don't know how to describe, but they know it has something to do with the Hawaiian pain. All Hawaiians have this pain, and what is it? And it's a little bit different for everybody, but inside the film it's a quickie snapshot of the Hawaiian pain. What was lost? Can we regain it? Or where do we go, you know? And so there's a lot of institutional things you can do, but what you can do is do it in your everyday life, everywhere you go. Don't let anybody say things in front of you that are incorrect or invalid or detrimental to your identity. You should call them out on it. Although people don't think of me as being a very political person, I always spoke my mind. I've always been for sovereignty. I want my country back. You know, the United States is pretty cool, but I want my own country back. I've always been that way. And I always tell everybody who wants to ask me, but I'm normally thought of as a pretty conservative guy who doesn't do a lot of active stuff, but I think all my films have some activism buried inside there. It's in there somewhere. So anyway.
I'm going to brag about, and I'm going to brag about you doing Mary Monarch for all those years, and a piece on Kaho'olawe. And, you know, I think about our commitment to the lahui, you know, and the work we do, whether it's ʻāina or Kalama Productions or any of the work we do. And it really is a testament to not only the lahui, but to our beloved ʻāina that we love, and to our beloved queen and our ali'i who continue to inspire us. And, you know, you think about Lili'u and everything that she went through, and I feel that this pride and resilience and determination and courage really stems a lot from her being that role model. And that's why this week is so important to me, these 2 nights, because that whole mana'o about Onipa'a is so critical to really say, you know, stand and be counted, challenge yourself, get involved, find out what your family history is, all of those things that do make a difference, because identity for our children as an educator is so important and more critical today than ever, you know? So I'm so excited to be talking to my buddies and filmmakers who are such creative geniuses, because the work will live long past us, you know, and it's very exciting to think that this documentary, you know, has such a voice and such legs. So let's hope we do get that out. Yeah, Kavika. So we'll see. Act of war as well. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And so many other things. Malia, do you have any other questions for us, or are there any other ones for?
No, just a lot of gratitude being shared in the Facebook chat here, and you know, some of our own young ones that are watching are saying, "Ayo, I want my country back too." You know, so, and they're saying thank you for that mana'o to David. So mahalo. Yeah, maybe some closing thoughts, and then we'll start to, you know, wrap it up. We have 4 more weeks of exciting events that are being planned, and we'll share a little bit more, but maybe some closing thoughts, and we'll start with Joan.
Well, what you just said, Meleanna, about these things being seen in the future. Mm-hmm. All the time that we were researching for Act of War and going into the archive and stuff, I just had so much gratitude and aloha and mahalo for the archivists of like 100 years ago, 150 years ago, that they saved this material that I could hold in my hands and read and learn from. And so when we did our logs and our transcripts for all of our interviews, I was always like typing out saying, thinking of somebody 100 years from now reading this and making sure everything was pono, all the Hawaiian diacriticals were there, you know, all the names are spelled correctly, you know, thinking that what we're doing now is going to be seen by future generations. So it's very important. And so my parting wishes is do your homework, everybody. It's all available. It's all online. Just do your homework. You can do what David said, is you can correct people when they say something that's not historically correct. If you do your homework, you can go right to the quote and pull it out, or the documentary source, and correct people, and with aloha, of course, you know. Oh,
with aloha, of course, I love it. Always.
David, any closing mana'o?
Mahalo to all of you for having this activity. I think this is wonderful. And mahalo for picking this particular film. I guess it relates to your subject matter of the week, so that's cool. So are you going to do Act of War next? Is that what's going to be happening? Because mine was the emotion. Act of War is the facts and figures. So it's just as incredible a documentary piece. Anyway,
We've got
all of you, and everybody who's watching, and thank you for all your good words, whatever they are, and thank you for being true to your culture and all your kupuna by staying Hawaiian. I know it's tough to stay Hawaiian. There's a lot of alternatives out there, so we don't want to lose you. We need all the Hawaiians we can get.
Ayo. You know, there's a beautiful quotation in the Onipa'a book on Lili'u. Says, until such time as the government of the United States shall, upon the facts being presented to it, undo the action of its representatives and reinstate me in the authority which I claim as the constitutional sovereign of the Hawaiian Islands. She wrote that in 1893. And, you know, not just only her, but each of us can be sovereign. And I often think about this as a portending, as a foretelling of perhaps what may happen in our lifetimes. We can always hope, you know, and I find that all of us collectively doing our work is really what is going to propel our lahui into healing, into understanding, and then into going forward. So I'm just really grateful tonight and for this week of time to Malia, for your guidance and for your friendship and aloha as a tita just for this kind of evening that we get to share, because I know lots of people are interested in what happens to Hawaii and what happens to beloved Hawaiians for that matter. So
great. And you know, I was thinking here, I'm trying to reflect, like, what would be some of my closing thoughts before we bring up our closing graphics? And I wanted to maybe end with an oli that we heard in the film. And it was an oli at the time that was taught to many of us young students that were in the different Native Hawaiian leadership programs. And the words say, imua e, imua la, imua aku no, ʻāina ikale kaleo kalanakila. So continue to move forward and to holomua until you get this lei of victory. And so maybe I'll end there with that oli, and it's done 3 times. And then I'll ask our friends to bring up some of our announcements and things for what's coming up tomorrow. And then some mahalo to all of our partners. So here's this this oli that we learned and that we did here in the film. Imua e, imua la, imua kuno. Aki ina ikale kaleo kalanakila. Imua e, imua la, imua kuno. Aki ina ikale kaleo kalanakila. Imua e, imua la, imua kuno. Aki ina ikale kaleo kalanakila. Mahalo.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because you know a lot of us haven't heard that, so it'll be a short piece that we all get to learn. That's the message. Always be open, to learning. David, thank you so much for always being the phenomenal artist that you've always been. So, and Joan, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been really, really great. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So let's see, can we bring up some of those closing graphics to our friends?
Roll credits.
Yes, yes. And you know, as they prepare that, I want to invite you all to come back tomorrow at 4 p.m. So our events are happening every Wednesday at 9 a.m., every Friday at 6 p.m., and then Saturday at 4 p.m. So tomorrow we're featuring Hawaii Nui Akea, the School of Hawaiian Knowledge, which I'm a part of. And we're right now under the leadership of Dean John Kamakaviva-Ole Osorio. And we're blessed to have his leadership there. And he, along with the directors of the Center for Hawaiian Language, Center for Hawaiian Studies, our Kapapalo'i o Kanewai, and Native Hawaiian Student Services will be joining us in a discussion about the Hawaiian history, the past, the present, and future of Mo'olelo. So this really, tonight's discussion really weaves well into where John Osorio, that so many of us know and love, and where we're going with that. And I can see that graphic is up now. And so again, tomorrow at 4 p.m., you can join us on HawaiianHistoryMonth.org or on Facebook, like many of you have joined us. And then our next graphic is really a mahalo to all of our partners. We have so many partners, and we are cross-posting on so many platforms. And so let's see, I think we had that graphic ready, and you know, we have so many that are putting together these events. So Kamehameha Schools, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Friends of Iolani Palace, Kanayo Kana, Oiwi TV, and there were so many more. Let's see, and we're on our next graphic. UH Manoa Hawaii Nui Akea School of Hawaiian Knowledge, the Department of Native Hawaiian Health, Papa'ola Lokahi, Hawaii Youth Chorus, Kahuli Leolea, Pam Omidyar, and Noah Webster Aluli Foundation. So mahalo again to everyone. I think, yeah, here's that other graphic that came up earlier. I want to make sure we also say aloha to the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, Lili'ua Kalani Trust, Namea Hawaii, and Pu'uhonua Society. So aloha, everyone, and we look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. Come back at 4 p.m. Aloha.
Ahui ho.
Ahui ho.
Bye.